Hello and welcome to the inaugural episode of Eyes on the NFL. And I just want to make sure that are we recording? Because
Yes, Joe. At the top of my top right hand screen of, sorry, I can't talk now. I can't record. I can't talk. I can't do anything. On the top right hand part of my screen, it does say in broadcast, not record. So
well,
we are recording.
I just want to say I want to offer condolences, not just to me and to you, I guess, for losing a couple hours of our time, but to the world for missing out on one of the greatest debut episodes of a podcast. There were laughs, there's crying, there were just moments of joy.
There was no
and
crying.
pain.
There was no crying. There was no pain. There was nothing. There was a few nice clips. That it was cool. I really liked the episode, but there was no crying.
Evo,
Joe, would you like to read the bottom scroll?
Suspense. We're trying to build it up. I would say that this is the most painful loss to the world in terms of a lost video, audio experience since Kirk Cousins' Gruden's QB camp interview from 2012, which I cannot find in full no matter where I look. And I was 12, 13 years old watching that, and that was what cemented me as the biggest Kirk Cousins fan.
Trust me, if you've heard that story once, you're gonna hear it 1,000 times.
So yeah, I'm tired. It is we're pushing up past 11 on the East Coast, and I'm not a youngin' like Evo. I can't just keep going like this. I'll drink some black coffee.
So before we do jump in, I would like we do have one thing on record from our last episode, and that is an amazing Joe Spinoza quote. I will now read that to you. When there's 300-pound men coming at you, you have to get a feel for it. Joe Spinoza. Joe, I would like to let you know there is a little bit of an echo, so keep that in mind as we continue to record. But yeah, welcome to the Eyes on the NFL podcast. We will be reviewing and previewing every single week's games. We'll probably just stick to reviewing the preseason, and then when it gets to the real season, we will review every single game and then preview every single game, or at least try to get to all of them. We can't get to all 16 games or 16 games by weeks, But yeah, as you can see on this bottom, scroll down here, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications, follow both Joe and I on Twitter. I am at Evo Knows All 31, and Joe Spinoza over here is Real Joe Spinoza. Make sure that L is not a capital I, because there are fake Spinozas out there.
Yeah, there's one account, and I just want to confirm how is everything sounding. I did a little pivot as we went.
You're sounding great.
Beautiful. Yeah, there are many fake accounts. One which actually was pretty good imitation. Then it kind of went a little bit off the rails. Tried to go a little bit too far. Yeah, there. So just be on the lookout. You'll know me when you see me, because I post content that can't be replicated, because I'm in the lab cooking up data, and that's proprietary to me. Yeah. So where are we going to start, Evo? Are we going to do Pickens or preseason or both? Or
Well, first of all, we do have something before Pickens, but we are going to start with, is preseason legitimate? And by that we mean, can you base anything off of it? People tend to be overreacting to it a bit. Can you go off of this 1 week and say this guy's going to be this guy's going to be that? And can you really pull any valuable information from it? Joe, I know you have a very strong stance on this. You have a distaste for it. Would you like to explain why?
Yes. And in general, I am someone who, if I see a general narrative, general sentiment about something, and I feel it goes too far, I am obligated to push back. So I will often make sort of blanket statements that will say, oh, preseason doesn't matter. Your opinions on preseason are irrelevant. Shut up. But in reality, I am more want to say that you can only or at least I only put value in any preseason evaluation of a player who I have not seen play serious snaps in the NFL or are coming off massive injury, and you just want to see how they look, how they're moving around. But if you've seen a guy take hundreds and hundreds, thousands even snaps, and you're going to put weight on a handful of plays against third stringers, then, like, come on.
Yeah. I mean, people are out here just saying what is in reality a tryout is like set in stone. This is, I guess, really valuable information. Like, this is going to launch our team into playoff stature. Like, ooh, Ty Chandler looked good on a kickoff return. Get Alexander Madison off my football team type of stuff. People do tend to blow things out of proportion just because it is the first football they've seen in 5 to 6 months. So I can totally understand where it comes from there, but people do need to tone it down. There is still 3 weeks till the actual NFL football season. And most of the people that you are seeing on these Sundays or Saturdays or Fridays or whatever day you're watching preseason on, they won't be on the 53-man roster. Most of them.
Yeah, a lot of these guys will literally be flipping burgers or bagging groceries. When you look at Kurt Warner, and people are going to say, well, look at him. And yeah.
Sean Mannion is the next Kurt Warner.
He was a 3rd-round pick, at least. So he at least got that signing bonus to start, unlike old Kurt. But yeah, it's something where fans, they get excited. I understand it. It's as a baseball fan, I'll say it's like when my Red Sox go to play Northeastern and Boston College down in Fort Myers, and it's the first baseball you see in 5-6 months. You're so excited to see it, but at the end of the day, you know who your stars are going to be. If anyone pops, they're still most likely to be second stringers and special teams guys. So it's fun. Enjoy it. Look for flashes. But no, you're not going to trade Alexander Madison because Kene Nwangwu and Ty Chandler look good. If anything, you should just be happy that you have depth. Recognize the reality that Dalvin Cook will miss at least a handful of games, maybe more. So
don't say that ever again, Joe.
Yeah, well, I only speak the truth, lobbyist.
Is that right?
Yeah. So
only the truth.
Only the truth.
Only the truth.
You should be happy that you have depth, you have good players. And I'm going to go – I come from Bill Belichick school of thinking. One is rotate your running backs. These guys are best when they're fresh.
You do the voice.
And I was going to say, most importantly, we just want good football players. Good football players play football. And that's what it's about. Football players. And you're going to have your football players return kicks. You're going to have your football players gun on punts. You're going to have your football players like CJ Ham, who kind of factors into the backfield, be that de facto tight end 3. Because I only think if Irv is healthy, ready to play week 1, I think they only carry 2 official tight ends. But you're going to have CJ Ham move around and block. He's going to help out Garrett Bradbury. If Ed Ingram looks like the way he has, and we'll touch on him later, but he looks like he is a very good, solid starting guard in the league, and Garrett Bradbury's your only real weak point on the line, CJ Ham is going to be that football player who's going to help you there. So I have no problem carrying 5 running backs to go to the preseason overreaction that you have to trade Alexander Madison, who is younger than Ty Chandler, by the way.
So all of this to say, tell me if I'm summarizing this wrong, Joe, because I don't speak for you. I speak with you. Preseason is legitimate we mentioned this in the last recording. We almost forgot it. Preseason is for guys who have not played or given the chance to show what they have on an NFL football field, or for guys who are coming back from injury. Those are the guys that people really want to see play, i.e. Ed Ingram for the Vikings this year. Is he probably going to be a starter or a backup guy? Do we kind of know what we have with him, at least for this season? Yes, but we want to see him go out there and do what we have been told. And
exactly.
with the injury, Joe Burrow last season, it's not exactly because we knew Joe Burrow wasn't going to fall off a cliff But we wanted to see if Joe Burrow could get out there and just move and feel the same in a NFL environment. Obviously, it's not the exact simulation of an NFL game, but it's the closest thing you're going to get to it.
Yeah, I agree. So in general, I'm just here to push back when people go a little bit too far. But the general excitement, I don't want to be. I'm a little bit of a Scrooge, but at the end of the day, you can pull on the heartstrings and say, "Come on, it's football. If Kirk's not playing now, it's 25 days away or so, and you get to see Kirk suit up." So I mean, come on.
So to continue my summary, preseason is legitimate for guys that you need to see play. You need to see play. But other than that, no narrative should be pushed because of one game, although that's exactly what I'm going to do here in probably 10 minutes.
10 minutes? We're going to go on this for 10 more minutes?
Well, actually 5 minutes probably, because we have a segment. Now, for those I'm going to let Joe take all the reins here because this is Joe's segment. But I would just like to let you know there's one benefit of us not recording the last recording, I guess. And that's this segment wasn't in there. Joe thought of this segment probably 5 minutes before we hit this record button. And yes, I did hit the record button this time. But Joe, the new segment you're doing is called Boomers Posting
Bad Takes on. Oh, I thought we were going to do it together.
We can do it together. 3, 2, 1. Boomers
posting bad takes on Facebook.
That was horrible. Yeah. I'm gonna go down to a listener. Joe, take it away.
Yeah. So I was just perusing Facebook, which I don't normally do. I'm not a big Facebook guy, but sometimes I'll go on. And I follow the Vikings on Facebook, and it's a very select crowd because Twitter users a bit more savvy. Instagram, obviously, very different. But Facebook is home of the boomers. And Kirk Cousins, and we're not going to get into this because I don't need my blood pressure raised any higher. 11:18 we're not posting it then, but it's 11:18 at night on a Monday. But the Vikings posted about how Kirk was the 99th player on the NFL Top 100. And I think it's ridiculous because you have him sandwiched between a fullback and David Montgomery, and you have Odell off the torn ACL, whatever. But the Vikings posted it, and you have just these terrible takes by the boomers. And so I'm going to go to my good friend Koo. And Koo is his first name. Not going to go last name because we're not going to get sued. But Koo said, "When's the last time an introvert nerd led an army of men to victory? ? Many dots. Crickets. It's never. Some people, PPL, can't spell out people, can write a paragraph on Facebook, but cannot write the word people. Some people are just not born to be leaders. Cousins falls right in that category. I'd like to think that this is a Judd Zulgad burner. This is some more. Here is Roy. And LOL, all caps. Dash. He's not even 99th best in the NFC North. Please tell me how Jared Goff and Jordan Love are better, Roy. And then this is the last one. We don't want to make this too long. But Heidi really, this is my favorite. Please, not even close. Very sick green face emoji. Worse than Ponder or McFlab, who was a decent QB in his day. All respect, just not when we landed him. And I believe that's referring to Donovan McNabb, who I guess put on some pounds at the end of his career with the Vikings. But wow, Kirk Cousins is not even Christian Ponder or Donovan McNabb with the Vikings level of quarterback. So thank you, boomers. You always provide entertainment. Yeah, we were just laughing about it. And it's always the same. It's always pictures of the dogs or the grandkids. And they are really stuck in like 1974. And it's just beautiful. And like these guys will be going on and be like, well, if you saw Sonny Jurgensen back in my day.
Yeah, man, if you saw Fran Tarkenton, you would not be a Kirk Cousins fan.
Yeah,
you youngins and your stats.
Fran Tarkenton, who was 20 games below 500 at age 33. But
Joe, I would just like to say before we move on, perfect delivery. More boomers posting bad takes on Facebook coming your way next episode.
but throughout the season, it's going to be great. It's going to be great.
Oh, it's going to be amazing. We're going to have to we could do like an entire like hour episode on boomers posting. We could even do boomers posting bad takes on Twitter if we had to, because there's enough of those. Or just Phil Mackey posting bad takes on Twitter.
Yeah, but the thing about Twitter is like you actually have to sift through for the boomers. It's all like
this is just organic.
Yeah,
like you click on it and it's there.
It's like fishing. It's like fishing in like a pond in a certain spot where it's just like it's just easy pickings. Easy pickings.
Speaking of Pickens, George Pickens is nice. Great transition, Joe Spinoza. We just went on an entire rant about how the preseason doesn't matter. It matters now. All right, I have a narrative to push. George Pickens, top 5 receiver season coming up. But no, in all reality, I've been on George Pickens. Pause. I've been high on George Pickens since like a month before the draft. And I've been dead set on it, and he is proving me right. Again, like going off our first segment, this does not mean that he is slotted in to be this good in the future or in the regular season. This just affirms my opinions on him. So, like coming into this game, his expectations were not to do what he did. He made great sideline catches, contested sideline catches, I might add. Made them look easy. Corner of the end zone, back shoulder, saw the ball in. His curl route is still the meanest route in the league, I'm telling you. So while this didn't like prove anything to us, it affirmed everything that we already knew. And, you know, it if anything, it boosted it up because he just played exceptionally well. Like the best performer in the preseason yet. Joe?
Yeah, Evo. I'm not a huge college football guy. That's not really a big draft guy. I'll look at top prospects, but coming from my background as a Patriots fan, as you saw from this draft, it's never predictable, never really entertaining.
It's quite strange.
Yeah, it is. We're not going to go there.
But this year,
yes, I know. This year, as I grew a little presence, I was on Twitter. I would be in the spaces, and Evo was pounding the table for Mr. Pickens. And he even got me on the train. I was all aboard the Vikings taking a receiver. And especially with the way they traded back, I would have liked Kirk to have George Pickens there because we don't know what Adam Thielen's going to be. But Evo is right. He has been a very impressive guy. And it's not just the numbers, because I think – here's what I'll say. Is numbers in preseason especially don't matter. But it's the process. It's, again, like the toe taps, the route running, the precision, those transferable skill sets that even if you're not looking as good with higher competition or you're not winning every time against top corners, those transferable skill sets that you say, yes, that plays in the NFL. And that's where I really think Pickens has excelled. So yeah, Evo, so far you're cementing yourself as a go-to draft guy.
And now I just need Charles Cross to be the best tackle in the draft, and I'm golden. You can't ever argue with me again. Sky Moore dropped after I said Sky Moore was going to drop. No one believed me. Naldo for sure didn't believe me, but
good old Naldo. Naldo will send me invites to his spaces at like 1 a.m. And it's
this is a sports podcast, not a life podcast. Naldo, we love you.
I love Naldo.
But speaking of Naldo, there was some somber news. But also honestly happy news. It goes both ways because Zach Wilson looked to have tore his ACL. He rolled out of the pocket, got on the sideline, might I add, tried to cut past a defender, and it looked like he tore his ACL. Knee bent in a weird way. He went down, and like for a solid 8 hours, everyone on social media was sending their condolences to the Jets fans that they knew, and wishing them luck through these hard times. But in the morning, we got great news, And those hard times are not going to be as long as everyone thought. It's not going to be a season-ending injury. It's only going to be 4 to 8 week bone bruise, depending on how that thing heals. So obviously, you never want to see a player like Zach Wilson, or any player, I should say, get injured. But the fact that it was not the caliber that we thought it was, it's just a bone bruise, is good. Like, good to see.
Yeah. I'm going to give Evo. I was giving Evo some older brotherly advice. No, for those that we're not blood related, but it's like if you're you're a kid in high school. No, I never did this. I got shipped to an all boys school where my mom.
I've never done this either. So.
Yeah, but if you're engaging in tomfoolery and smoking marijuana or bringing some Four Loko back into the woodsy area behind your school, and a cop comes by, and you're really worried that this could impact your chance to get into college and have some serious ramifications.
You could go to jail.
Yeah, exactly. And then the cop is not a total hard ass and just gives you, a little warning.
Maybe a little really stern talking to.
Yeah.
Hold you there for 15 minutes, talks about the impacts of drug and alcohol abuse.
Yeah, exactly. And it says, next time I'm not going to be this nice. That's kind of what this is. From a player standpoint, don't go all out in preseason. And from a team standpoint, if you have a guy who is literally your franchise, don't put him out there for what?
Well, I'm gonna revise your statement real quick. Go all out in preseason if you are not a franchise guy. Like if you're teetering on, or if you're just trying to make the team and you don't want to be flipping burgers in August or in the fall, go all out. But if you're Zach Wilson or a Garrett Wilson or a guy that is going to be a very key contributing factor, obviously I know I don't play football, but I know it's definitely hard to just turn that switch down and say, I can't go all out here. But what you can do is be smart. Zach Wilson was on the sideline, had plenty of room to slide. He could have either gotten out of bounds or slid. Instead, he tried to make a cut past the defender, which just didn't need to happen. The most he would have gained out of it was 3 yards. So he got a bone bruise looking for 3 yards. And I am in no way slandering Zach Wilson for that, because that's just the competitive spirit in him. One might say the dog in him. But, you just have to be smarter if you're that kind of caliber. I don't want to say caliber because he's not that caliber of player yet, but he is expected to be by his team. And
that
now
caliber
you might not
value to his team.
You might not see him now until week 4 or week 5. So you just have to be smarter on the football field. Go all out all you want, but be cautious.
If we really wanted to, do another episode and piss off Jets fans, what if Joe Flacco looks good?
Mike White, maybe?
Hey, Mike White beat the AFC champions and bald. But yeah, of course, you don't want to see anything bad happen to any player. And for a guy who, honestly, this is a very pivotal season for him, because, in the same way, we joke about the Bears, but if Justin Fields, through no fault of his own, whether he's good or not, I don't think he's that great, but there's no way to evaluate him because the team is garbage. But if the Bears, obviously, they're put in a position to draft a guy in the QB class as good as it looks. What if Zach Wilson, who had a subpar rookie year, things ended up bad and missed the whole season? The Jets aren't good, and is he looking for a new team? These are things you don't want to ask, and thankfully he avoided injury, but very serious consequences. So. Yeah. You don't want to see anything like that. It reminds me, as a Patriots fan, this probably cost us another Super Bowl. Was Julian Edelman going down against the Lions in a preseason game. We missed him for the whole year. And we ended up making the Super Bowl, but we still didn't win it, and that was the Eagles' year. But Julian Edelman was always the engine of that offense. And you had Edelman in with Brandon Cooks, Gronk. We also had Amendola, Chris Hogan, the whole gang of running backs. So, yeah, that was Deion Lewis, James White, the whole group. Yeah. But you don't want – but, again, these preseason injuries can alter franchise outlooks. So, yeah. Mm-hmm. But again, blessing. I'm not gonna say blessing in disguise, but the best of a bad situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I'm trying to find ways to expand on this topic, but I can't. I mean, we just basically gave a TED talk to a bunch of high-level NFL players. So if you're listening to this, if you're listening to Evo and Joe Spinoza, Kirk Cousins, well, actually, we established this. Kirk Cousins would never be so stupid as to do this. Kirk Cousins would get down or throw that ball away. He wouldn't even get to that point.
Yeah, exactly. Because Kirk knows what he is doing. He is a
because
professional.
he can't do that.
Oh, I put out. Did you see when they talked about him on the top 100? They were talking about how athletic he is. So go watch that. Kirk is an athlete. Kirk ran a sub-5.
There's no way they put him at 99 below Mac Jones, and we're like, this guy is an athlete. Like, come on.
Watch the clip I put out. Watch it.
Okay, that's if you want to hear my thoughts, I'm sure Joe would love to give his thoughts. But if you'd like to hear my thoughts on the NFL Top 100, Kirk Cousins in particular, make sure to go subscribe to the Sports Forever Evolving podcast, my personal podcast, more of a YouTube channel now, but very high level insight from the 16-year-old. But preseason also did provide us with more knowledge on young quarterbacks such as Trey Lance, Jordan Love, Zach Wilson to an extent, Kellen Mond maybe, Matt Corral, Malik Willis. Joe, how'd you feel about the young quarterbacks? Anyone that stood out in a bad way, in a negative way, anything?
I think that it's so in a bad way. I would go with. I mean, it's Matt Corral's one for 11, one for 9,
one for 9, 11 yards.
Yeah, he was bad, very bad. That's Baker's job.
Yep.
But also I would say the running quarterbacks, Malik Willis, Kellen Mond, they showed some flashes. They might have put some numbers up, but when it comes to what their real question marks are, which is standing in the pocket and making the right read and not just running, I did not see a lot that impressed me. And again, you talked about a lot of these guys who they're playing aren't going to be in the NFL in a couple of weeks. So they kind of just did what they would do in college, which is use their superior athleticism to make plays. But that's not going to fly when you're playing against real NFL players. And then Trey Lance looked great, but the range of outcomes for him, he's someone where I wouldn't use the preseason exceptionally to evaluate, because it's just you have no idea. He could be a Pro Bowl level quarterback in year one, or he could disappoint. I have no idea. So
yeah, I mean,
it's crazy.
We talked about this. I hate to keep bringing up the fact that I didn't click record, and
now Evo, yeah, I'm tired,
making listeners feel bad the fact they couldn't hear that riveting conversation. But I mean, guys like Malik Willis being able to run with poise. I know Joe didn't like their pocket presence, but being able to run with poise, or like just seeing little things that maybe not you wouldn't be able to teach as well. Like just being calm is one thing, and I think Trey Lance was very calm. That might be because he's had 2 starts. What is it? 2, 3 starts under his belt. I mean, you're not going to see like the world with these guys, nor should you, because A, they're not getting the opportunities, and B, they're not like giving their hearts out for this as they should. We've already addressed that. But guys that I liked, did you give one of your positive guys?
Positives, I guess I like Trey Lance looked good. Negative. I'm going to keep going negative. Jordan Love. Well, here's the thing: is everything's negative, because if you're not Kirk Cousins, you're not good. So,
but it's also well, I thought you were going somewhere else. It's also, if you're bad in preseason, that's a negative. But if you're good in preseason, you're supposed to be good. So
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's also true. But also, if you're not Kirk Cousins, then you're not good.
That too. Matt Corral is the obvious negative, and Bustin Fields and Jordan Love, obvious negatives. But Joe's tired. He doesn't like hearing me talk.
No, dude, it's 11:36. I'm I'm an old man, Evo. I'm not 16 anymore.
Yeah, Trey Lance showed extreme poise. I liked Malik Willis. I like facets of his game, running the ball more than passing the ball, but nothing that like watching them, or I didn't watch any of the games. I watched highlights, film breakdowns, stats. Nothing that really jumped out at me, but guys were for the most part doing what they were supposed to be doing, which I guess could never be a negative.
Yeah.
So. And then to move into the last part of this episode, I'd like to preface this by saying Joe Spinoza is a Kirk Cousins fan, right? So he's an honorary Vikings fan. I'm a Vikings fan, as you can see by my backdrop. We both are very interested and love talking about the Vikings, right?
Yep.
Joe's following, mostly Vikings fans. Probably all Vikings fans except for like a few stat nerds, am I right? Maybe Boston fans.
Yeah, there will be, because during the Celtics run, I'd post about the Celtics and get some fans there. Friends from back home, all Boston.
I think now I don't have nearly the following that Joe does, but I think I do have a little bit more of a diverse following. But I'd say the vast majority of it is a Vikings following. So a lot of times, since this is the first episode, I do have to mention this. We're going to find our way back to the Vikings a lot, just because that is what we know. That's our bread and butter, and that's what we ultimately like talking about. If you don't like it, well then, run this up so that when we have more viewers, then we are forced to talk about other stuff. But
yeah,
force us out
of our comfort zone. Make us leave the pocket.
Exactly. But Kirk could never do that though.
He can't.
I say all that to say we're doing a Viking review to end the episode. If you want to leave now, go ahead. So what we're going to do is our same thing we did with quarterbacks, positive and negatives. What did you like seeing? What did you not like seeing? What were guys that you didn't like? Did you like Kevin O'Connell's play calling? It was only preseason, but it was a hint.
I didn't. I was not crazy about it, but also you got to think about the personnel that he was dealing with. So, I remember everyone was joking. And I was even thinking this. So everyone was kind of on the same page when he called that 2nd and 10 run, or fire Zimmer, say it's, pull off the mask. And
we're gonna do that every single time he runs on 2nd and 10, whether it's a good decision or not. We're gonna be like, oh, who let Zimmer in the building? Yeah,
exactly. I would say there were a lot more negatives than positives, to be honest. But maybe that's just me. That's the thing is, I'll just say this, is that I'm obviously a huge Kirk guy. And Kirk is a very divisive figure amongst the Vikings fan base. And people who are just Vikings fans, because I think I might be the only person who's not in Kirk's family who is just particularly a Kirk fan. So amongst Vikings fans who are pro Kirk, they're generally more positive outlook on the team, glass half full kind of people, which is the exact opposite of how I evaluate all my teams. So I'm kind of at a disconnect because if I pull the negative route, I'll get hate because I'll be I thought you were supposed to be positive, but I'm just positive on Kirk. But whatever.
He's biased. That's what he is. He's
I'm not
biased.
Oh, I'm not biased. If I were biased, I would have ranked Kirk in my top 5 players in the league. My top 5 quarterbacks.
You would lose everyone's respect then. So you got to keep it mellow.
I'm an unbiased football analyst.
I'm on a podcast with a fraud.
You saw the R. You saw the method.
I saw it.
You saw the method of the Spinoza rating system that's driving me nuts. But yeah, Sean Mannion. Sorry, you've been a loser this week. You might lose your job. I hope not.
He better to lose his job.
No,
I know you're on Team Kirk, so you're obligated to choose Mannion.
Yeah, I'm Team Mannion.
Lose his job.
I'm Team Mannion via Team Kirk, but yeah, he did not play particularly well. I don't think Kellen Mond played well, but at least he put up some numbers. Granted, against the worst of the worst competition, whatever. P-Nick made a nice tackle, but other than that, not great on the P-Nick front. Andrew Booth looks very raw. He had some bad penalties.
Is to be expected. But one of his penalties, and it got stacked, just wasn't a penalty. So, I mean, Andrew Booth being raw is what we expected. there's not much surprise in this preseason game. Tristan Jackson is one that really stood out. Like before camp, I didn't know his name at all, and I'm a huge Vikings fan. I like to think I'm very connected, but I hadn't heard of him. And throughout camp, you keep hearing his name more and more. He played really well. He's a camp standout, and he came out and really played well. He's competing for probably that 6th wide receiver spot, right, Joe? With Naylor and Albert Wilson. So,
I think Wilson's making it. I think
really,
it's
more who are your 6?
My 6 are.
I remember it was. I don't think you had Jackson, right?
I did not,
and you didn't have Naylor either. So who were your 6? Did you have 5 or 6?
I had 6. I had JJ Thielen, KJ, ISM, Albert Wilson, and I had BC because I think that BC has a rapport with Kirk, and I think that the key is you got to balance upside versus reliability. And
That's
ISM
true.
But is upside. Wilson, I think it looked really good. You can't cut him. He's an NFL player. And then I think it comes down to BC, Naylor, and maybe Jackson. And again, and you're talking about this. You want to segue into fans having the bias of like, oh, well, if we put this guy in the practice squad, he's going to get poached.
Exactly.
Do we think that Jalen Naylor, who was a 6th-round pick, there are a lot of 6th-round picks on practice squads. Do we think that he's going to get poached? Do we think
he would have to prove a lot. And if he proves a lot, he's getting that spot. Tristan Jackson, I can guarantee you right now, will not be poached. So Albert Wilson will likely be a guy that would be poached just because, as you said, he is an NFL player. I'm just like, we could go any way with it. And besides BC, I don't really want BC on my team because the only thing he has going for him, you mentioned, was reliability. But I feel like half of that reliability goes out the door since he just tore his ACL. So do you get where I'm coming from with that?
I do. And listen, I'm not tethered to BC Johnson making the team.
But you're Team Kirk, and BC is Team Kirk.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's, again, like, I don't know how Team Kirk, I don't know the extent to which he's Team Kirk and the extent to which Jalen Naylor, a fellow Spartan, cannot become Team Kirk very quickly. It's just, I don't know. Like, also, for me, when I see BC Johnson, like, maybe it's just the way he wears his uniform, but he kind of reminds me of Adam Thielen a lot. Just like the way he runs, the way he moves. He reminds me of Adam Thielen.
Sorry, I'm going to throw this topic off a lot, but I'm going to go a negative for me. First of all, the entire linebacking core was a negative, but one in particular, the biggest eyesore on a football field I have ever seen. Dude needs to put on a sleeve. He needs to put on a wristband, something. Doesn't even wear gloves. Troy Dye, get off my football team. That guy sucks. He can't tackle. His coverage is weak. I mean, his coverage is probably the only thing that is, a redeeming factor, and he still doesn't really do that well. And not to mention, that guy has no drip. So if he has no drip,
I like his drip.
That's because you are a. That's because you. No.
I love it.
What do you mean you love it? Okay.
It's like Evan Gaddis when he'd get up there and without batting.
You know what he looks like? You know what he looks like? I know you don't like Madden, but have you seen like the Madden sidelines, like where like the players are just kind of standing there and like it's just like animated? Okay, he looks like an animated character on the Madden sidelines, just like an AI. Like seriously.
But
he looks like a bot. He's just a bot. Like seriously, and he can't play football. Where'd he go? Oregon. He went to Oregon.
Yeah, but again, like, I don't like that because you're like, oh, he has no drip. But it's like, you know what? Everyone has.
He doesn't play football well. He's horrible on special teams. Like he does. Or actually, I shouldn't say horrible because I don't know the full extent of it. But he's not impressive. Like he doesn't stand out on special teams. And when he's playing like in the actual game, because we know Zimmer tried. He was not good. And yesterday, he wasn't good either. So there's no redeeming qualities to Troy Dye, and if he has no drip, then I can only imagine he has no friends either. So he's not a locker room guy.
He definitely has friends. Stop.
I wouldn't be his friend. I'd look at him. Oh
wow! So when he actually
he looks like a middle schooler. He looks like those BT middle schoolers who don't have access to some drip, and they're just wearing like the oversized pads with no gloves, no sleeves, no nothing.
He improved a lot. He was 29 grade. According to PFF, in 2020, he improved to 61. Granted, way fewer snaps. Let's see how he did in the old preseason game. He was a 51. Mid 50s across the board. You know what? Like, I have Troy Dye making the team, but do I think like Blake Lynch could? Yes.
Blake Lynch deserves it over him. And I know I know Mike mentioned it to you. I don't know if you got in an argument with him about it. You probably did, but you had Surratt making it.
No, I did not have Surratt making it.
Good.
No, I do not have Surratt.
Our linebacker depth is literally probably the worst in the league. Like, we have Eric Kendricks and Jordan Hicks. Cool. I actually
Asamoah.
Okay, but do you trust Asamoah to come in and be like up to par immediately? I don't. But after those three, because Asamoah is there, but he's a question mark. So I'm not gonna say he's not reliable because I honestly don't know. After that, you have Blake Lynch, who's good, but do you really want him starting on your team? No. You have Troy Dye. Definitely not. No matter how you feel about him, you shouldn't want him starting on your football team. You have Chaz Surratt.
That's why I was saying I want Alexander Johnson very badly. I don't know why he's still available. And people were like, but we have Eric. So this is the thing with Vikings fans. And I'm not going to swear because we're kid friendly and we don't want to get demonetized, even though it's our first episode and we're probably not going to have any viewers. But the Zimmer mentality, and it goes to the running backs too. Oh my God, we can't have multiple good players at the same position. Like, I remember I posted about George Pickens, and I was like, but he has Justin Jefferson. Why can't you have multiple good players?
Hold on. Next time on Boomers posting bad takes on Facebook. We should get a Facebook account and provoke these people. Get into you know how you get on arguments you get into arguments with them. You should just get an subliminally disagree with them, but and they'll be like, you kids these days with your stats. I watch real football, not a stat sheet.
Yeah. But the idea that that Ty Chandler looking good means you have to get rid of Alexander Madison, who makes no money, who okay, you let him walk and you get a comp pick at the end of the year. It really hurts you having multiple good backs. Or the fact that you have Eric Kendricks, who's really good, and you sign Jordan Hicks, who was an Anthony Barr replacement, different skill set.
Exceptional tackler.
Yeah, different skill set, but again, that second linebacker role. So therefore, you cannot sign another good linebacker, and you just have to roll out with this roulette wheel of mid-round draft picks who probably all suck and have all sucked in every instance we've seen them. But it makes no sense. It's a 53-man roster. It's not a 22-man roster. You can have more than 22 guys be good at football.
It's just, I mean, people are just so close-minded. And honestly, our lack of depth is probably what has held us back these last, 10 years since Christian Ponder left?
Well, not to go to the whole Kirk debate because it's too late. And we're going to wrap this up because we are 45 minutes, pretty close. But it's people act because there's good top-end talent that this is a stacked roster. It's no, depth wins in the NFL. And people would go, oh, Brady's supporting cast hasn't been that great because he had Moss for a year and then he had Gronk. But it's no, Brady's supporting cast was great because he had 35 to 40 damn good football players who could rotate and do different things. How many really good football players do the Vikings have?
I'll count them.
I'm looking now.
Let me go off the dome. Jefferson, Kirk, Dalvin, Thielen, Kendricks, Smith, Daniil, Za'Darius. If you could maybe throw in Jordan Hicks, are we talking exceptional or just good football players?
I would go guys who you would feel comfortable playing over 50% of the snaps.
All right. Okay. Boom. I'll list all of them, or not all of them. Feel free to help me out at the end. But we got.
Well, start offense.
All right. Okay. Darisaw, O'Neal, because I forgot them. Ezra Cleveland, Kirk, Dalvin, JJ, KJ. If we're talking over 50%, because I feel confident with him. Thielen, if I haven't mentioned him. That's it for the offense. The defense, we're going Daniil, Dalvin Tomlinson, Zadarius Smith. I'm inclined to put Harrison Phillips, but I don't know enough about him to say so. Joe,
I'll say I'd put Harrison Phillips, but I'm not sure if Harrison Phillips is better than Hicks. That's what I'll say.
All right. So right now I'm at 3 plus 9. That's 12 players. So are we counting Harrison Phillips?
Yeah.
All right. So that's 4. That's it for the defensive line. Then we go. I mean, I'm really struggling to say Patrick Peterson. I don't know if I want. I mean, I'm gonna put him there because I'm a little bit biased. But if you said no,
here's the thing though. It's like, yes, do I feel comfortable with technically 50% of snaps?
Yeah,
and he is a clear second corner, but because of his role, like the fact that he is your CB1.
In the context of the Vikings like depth room, like cornerback
so
room,
I'll say 50%.
I'm comfortable with him playing 50%. But
50% of your snaps as the CB1, as your CB1.
No, I'm not. Okay, then no, I'm taking him off the list. That's still only 4. Harrison Smith, Eric Kendricks, Jordan Hicks. I'm gonna say Lewis Cine because I'm really high on him, and I might say Cameron Bynum. But 50% of the snaps is tough because it is so I'll take Cine off of that because I don't know if Bynum or Cine is going to. I know they're
one of them. Let's say one of them.
So I'll put in. So that's 8 on defense and 9 on offense. So you realistically you have pretty good football teams on both sides of the ball because like 8 out of 11 and 9 out of 11 is pretty good. And if you're getting serviceable corner play, like just serviceable, like maybe a little bit below average, so like 18, 19, you can live with that. On offense, if Ed Ingram can be decent, if Garrett Bradbury cannot be the trash can he has been, like if he can improve to a recycle bin, that'd be great. And then then you're looking at like very good offenses and defenses. But then, oh no, Adam Thielen got hurt again. Okay, KJ has to play the 2, which I'm not comfortable with him playing 50% of the snaps at the 2. And then whoever's filling in at 3, it may be Amir, but Amir hasn't done enough. So like in the snaps I've seen Amir play, he's been great. Like in the regular season, I'm not even talking about preseason, but do I trust him to do it on a consistent basis in the midst of going after the playoffs? No. And then Christian Darrisaw gets hurt. Olioto's in there. So literally just 2 injuries. Christian Darrisaw and Adam Thielen brings your total down to what? 6? Or no, 7? And then not Olioto, Rashad hit. No, it's someone at that.
But here's the thing though. It's not only does it bring down your total, it kind of compounds because I would say Thielen going down removes KJ from being the guy you feel comfortable with. Because you feel comfortable with KJ as your 3.
So you're looking at 6 to 5 now people you're confident in, and it just builds on top of each other. So the depth of the positions and why boomers having bad takes on Facebook saying, no, we don't need to get George Pickens at 43. It's like we just went on a rant.
But people don't understand depth. People don't understand the importance of it. Like you realize how violent this game is. Guys get hurt every year, and they're like, "Well, at any team," but like other teams are more apt to deal with injuries. The Packers had their left tackle Bakhtiari. They had
and Elton Jenkins.
Zadarius Smith, Jair Alexander, superstars all go down, and they still managed to go what? 14 and 3, 13 and 4. Yeah. So the number 1 seed,
but they have Aaron Rodgers, but it's not just Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, like you said earlier, those Brady teams were not just built off of 5 guys on each side of the ball. It's built off of 30 to 40 guys that you can consistently, maybe not, they don't have to be stars. They just have to be guys that you can plug and play and feel not bad about. And if somebody goes out on that defense, like a key piece like Danielle Hunter goes out again or Harrison Smith goes out again, that defense is atrocious. It's horrible again. And if we're being real, it's likely going to happen. So
yeah, when you got guys, as they progress in years,
I'm not going to lie, Joe, that conversation made me a lot more shaky on the Vikings season. When I go on Sean's podcast, I might bring down my win total.
The depth is scary, and that's why I'm pretty low on the Vikings, and the fans going to get very mad. Very mad. But it's true because...
Well, lucky enough for us, the Vikings fans don't have that big of an attention span to sit through this entire, 45-minute podcast?
Yeah. Well, here's what I'll say just before we go is it was against remember that very foggy game against the
Bears?
It was the Patriots game, but it was a national TV game. It was the Patriots-Bills game.
Yes.
Where the wind was blowing. Mac Jones
really
threw 3
windy.
picks.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So I think it was Jalen Mills, and he was one of our best corners. He went down, and we went in and we put in Miles Bryant, and he had the play at the end of the game because the Bills still could have won. It was very reminiscent, actually, of the Jared Goff win against the Vikings. But it was like a goal line play. Josh Allen had one throw to tie it up at the end, and Miles Bryant goes in and blows up a play and saves the game. And he came in. He didn't have many snaps, and he came in and did it. And it's like, do you see that? Like if a Harrison Smith goes down, great, yeah, you have Lewis Seed or whatever, but if you have Harrison
Danielle
Smith,
Hunter or even Patrick Peterson or Eric Kendricks, if any of those guys
exactly. Do you have a guy who you're comfortable being like, oh yeah, like, we're gonna hold it together?
Yeah. So eyes on the NFL is now eyes on the Vikings, basically.
Eyes on Kirk.
Always. But before we go, we do need a clickbait thumbnail, Joe. So I'm gonna click over to this George Pickens thing. If you could give me your like, oh, you just mossed someone. Like, oh. All right, that's good.
We're like a 90s boy band with the
No, that's just you.
No, Evo, you got that hair. Come on. You are not.
I do have the hair. But that's more more of a 2000s hair, boy band hair. Like if I was a 90s boy band guy, it'd be like kind of spiked up and like.
Yeah.
You have the 2020 boy band hair. It's like parted and.
Yeah.
All right, this is kind of dead now. So I'm gonna play the outro music, if I can find it.
I'm gonna do air guitar, ukulele.
Is it up? It's gonna play. All right. Thank you everyone for listening and or watching to the Eyes on the NFL podcast. I think it was a very productive first podcast, inaugural podcast, as Joe Spinoza would say. If you're watching, go ahead and check out that bottom scroll, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications, follow us both on Twitter at EvoKnowsAll31 and Joe Spinoza, real Joe Spinoza on Twitter. It's been great. Keep your eyes peeled.